things we got to bring up, Alice.
Okay.
One,
Did you tweet the tweet to the show?
Yeah, didn't I?
Okay.
Yeah, a couple of shout-outs. Why? Are we lighter than usual?
A little light, but it's a Sunday. It's nice weather. People are out enjoying the
I
day.
tweeted it. Yeah, I said Sunday special. Yeah. Okay, so a couple of things. One, we have to give some thank yous out there.
Okay.
Thanks, first of all, to Dan, our neighbor, I left some pork in the oven broiling, and we drove away, and I remember 20 minutes later, and thankfully Dan, I called him, ran over and got the pork out and put it in the yard, and the pork was finito. But the dog did eventually eat the pork.
And the house didn't burn down.
House didn't burn down, which is good. Second, because people involved in this like their... Congratulations to you guys who know you need to be congratulated.
Okay.
That's all I'll say. Third, I was happy to see a part of the state that I didn't see, that I've never quite seen before. So areas like Concord, Carlisle,
Lincoln, Dover,
Lincoln,
Natick,
Millis, things like
Millis,
that. Yes. I've never gone over to Canton. Not Canton. No. What's the place we were today when we went to the Friendlies? Norwood.
Norwood. Yes.
Yes.
The Auto Mile.
Norwood, Massachusetts, which Alice and I were last at Ernie Bach's party.
Mm-hmm.
I must have been so to get you into that party. You must have thought
that
I
was cool. The Go-Go's were at it.
Yeah, you must have thought that is really.
That was very cool. We were there with Todd Feinberg, as a matter of fact.
Yes, as a matter of fact, that's right. Yeah, that was a king dingling moment for me.
It's very cool.
That probably got me like four years out of you. Seriously. So there's another thing that I want to go over. Okay, do you want to start with the Sunday show stuff?
Whatever you want.
I want to start somewhere different.
Okay.
I was reminded today of just how much was revealed by the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Just how many personalities were revealed, how many institutions were revealed, and how clarifying the pandemic was. Mm-hmm. It really was remarkable that we saw people around us. We saw their character, or some people stepped up. We saw some people have no constitution. We saw people become cowards, and some people become stronger. And some people start to realize that they're not as free as they thought. But it was really a revealing thing. So I got to thinking about it today. We've talked about it forever. Mm-hmm. There are people who we are still very friendly with who acted in ways then that were quite offensive to us, and it hurt relationships.
Yes.
And they thought I was being offensive for saying, let's stop doing things to little kids here because of this disease that doesn't hurt the little kids. And so, it's funny because all those measures to kids mm-hmm. that were just unhealthy, based in no medicine, no whatever, there was never any reason to social distance or do any of this stuff for kids. The kids never had to at all. There was no reason for kids to get the
vaccine.
The
right.
very effective, 100% vetted, absolutely vaccine. As well, like none of this stuff ever had to be. And then you and I were sometimes almost in person yelled at for this. Mm-hmm. But generally, just all over social media and all over the media and by politicians, whatever, we were called horrible things. And now that it's all been found we've been found right, there's no apology. There's nothing coming.
Oh, no.
It's still no, like you got to say F you to me when you were wrong. At no time, am I allowed to say it to you, or...
And then it turns into, we all made mistakes during the pandemic. Like, no. We didn't all make mistakes. Some of us were wrong about stuff, and
right.
Some of us acted inappropriately. I mean, there's still people out there acting like psychos.
Yes,
if you go to an airport and take a flight, there's still people wearing masks.
When I actually had the chance to go to Wellesley yesterday, Wellesley, Mass. Is a beautiful town. It's the definition of a W town, and there's a Whole Foods in the middle of the town, I went in there. Whole Foods sells beer and wine. So I went in there. I must have seen 67 people in masks, including young people, out there.
From what though? Like
I don't
get
know.
it.
I mean, that just goes to show you that the people who are these people are by and large college educated, highly educated people.
Right.
But they have an emotional need for this thing, and it doesn't seem to matter. I mean, these are people who, if you had said to them 4 years ago, you're going to be wearing a mask full time in a few years, they would have assumed there would be nuclear fallout, but there's not. There's what, for most of these people, are a strain of flu.
Right. It's a cold for most people.
Right.
At this point.
Right. So anyway, I got thinking about this, and because I was watching Club Random, which is the Bill Maher thing he does, his podcast, live video podcast he does.
Okay.
And he's doing that now because the show is on strike, of course. So this.
Oh.
So he's got Jordan Peterson on.
Okay.
Who I didn't know if they'd be adversarial because, although both of them have dealt with free speech and cancel culture stuff, and they've got some similar beliefs, I didn't know if the whole get up and make your bed, young man thing was something that would tick Bill Maher off, because Bill Maher, I don't think is a Daily Wire fans kind of. Who knows? But apparently they get along quite well.
Although he was good with Ben Shapiro too.
He was. Shapiro needs to do a longer one with him. But so this is just along these lines of how we became different during COVID. Bill Maher and Jordan Peterson.
And I remember I was talking to the driver taking me in from the airport, and he had a mask on, and my friend who travels with me, and we always would tell drivers everywhere, or anybody, you don't have to have the mask on for me. If you want a break in the day where you don't have to be breathing your own stale, shitty air for no reason, we'll open the windows to the car, whatever. And this guy said, I know, I'd like to. He said, but my 4-year-old daughter, I came in last night and I didn't have the mask on, and she freaked out. Mm-hmm. So they had. It always stuck with me. They'd gotten a 4-year-old to be panicked when she saw her father without a mask.
Yeah, right.
I mean, where does that fall in your psychology professor world? I mean, what does that do to a person? What's that person going to be like when they're 20?
It was also what it did to everyone and what it revealed about everyone. Like, my sense in Canada, Toronto was locked down very badly and people were pretty much on board with it. And my sense in Toronto was that 70% of Torontonians would have worn a mask for the rest of their life without making a peep about it. And 30% of them would have been happy about it because it gave them an opportunity to inform on their neighbors.
Isn't that a great line?
Yeah.
And they go on to talk about how that's in human nature. There's part of you that I can just play it. Why don't we just let it go?
Sure.
That wasn't cute.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, in East Germany, like 1/3 of people were government informers.
Absolutely.
And you think, well, that couldn't happen here. It's like, yeah, it could in about 15 minutes.
Yes.
Yes, it could, and it did.
Some people like that.
Yes.
They want that, like, not just for that, but for everything.
Yes, and it's almost as if I wonder if that's one of the reasons behind the continued masking, is to show, this is to show that you're still bound contractually with the state as a partner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Somebody says in the chat right now that where they work still has a COVID vaccine mandate for the first 2 shots. You still have to have the first 2 to work there.
Amazing.
Yeah, but there's a lot of places. I mean, like, I know people who had jobs that they no longer have because of that. And, I mean, like, it's still impacting people.
So let me tell you something else. If the reason that's happening is because, like, in that job, if the reason it's happening at the end of the day is because dark forces are in cahoots with the pharma companies and people are taking care of each other and greasing each other, etc. If that's the reason, Alice, then that's a healthier reason and better for society if it's purely
just
corruption.
Pure monetary
if it's pure
corruption.
That is much healthier than if it's an emotional, psychological thing.
But I think a big piece of it is the emotional, psychological thing. You know, like, I think people naturally want, like, proof that they're good people and proof that some other people aren't good people, and to be able to point out the difference.
Yeah, but so then what's the reason for that?
That I think that's just human nature.
There are some people, Alice, who probably to their core were not actually very afraid of COVID, but who used it immediately to trash their neighbors. Used it immediately to, I can run with my phone and say, why aren't you wearing a mask, especially if it's a diminutive woman. So, some jogger in tight jeans guy will run over to the lady and say, "Pardon me, yeah, you're killing me. Hello, you're a murderer. You're killing me." But we saw that all over the place.
But like you say, those people couldn't actually have been like afraid of COVID
because he wouldn't approach her if he was afraid of your COVID molecules getting on him. But so it's about something else. And so on this, Jordan Peterson went through personality types, Machiavellian people and psychotic people, whatever, but et cetera, et cetera. And it all kind of makes sense. I think we use different words to categorize people. But these are definitely people with a deficit. And also, I think that there is on, we'll say our side, we were not masking people, so we were the anti-mask people. But by the way, remember, they had to, because their science was so definitive, they immediately came up with slurs for us to shame us into changing our behavior.
Right.
You know, which is not something that if you have the science, you really would do.
But very few people went around demanding that other people not wear masks, which you totally could do, because like it is damaging for a child, particularly children who are at the age of learning human speech, to be, for example, in daycare with masked providers all day. And, they tried to tell us that that wasn't true, that would be just fine to have little kids who are trying to develop human language to be around people whose mouths and faces they can't see all day. And, like, that's absolutely not true. I mean, like, I wouldn't want my kid to be around masked people all day. I don't think it's healthy for kids to wear masks all day. But, like, I didn't go to the school board and say, I don't want anybody to be allowed to wear masks at the school. I'm a reasonable person. I was willing to compromise. I was willing to let them wear masks if they were willing to let me not wear masks,
Right. But it is, and I think you used to see this in ER a lot. Mm-hmm. They used to have to make a kid feel comforted because there was a bunch of adults with masks on standing over them.
Right, because it's not a normal humans connect by looking at each other's faces and reading emotions and language. And yes, and these were like the articles they were writing at the time were like, but blind people still learn to connect emotionally. Like, well, yeah, sure, but that's an adaptation to overcome a serious disability, not like the ideal for how humans develop. And most children have not developed the ability to read people's emotions without facial expressions. So it is wild that like we went through all that, and it's weird like how much people have even forgotten that it happened, sort of.
Do you know you can send voice messages in Twitter?
Send voice messages?
I just got a voice message from somebody on Twitter.
Oh, I didn't really know that, but well, did you know that Twitter is rebranding?
Yeah, I saw that.
It's becoming X.
Is that really going to happen?
Yeah.
That's really stupid.
I don't know. It seems like it's
Twitter begat tweeting, which begat tweets. What are we doing here? There's a whole universe full of good branding around Twitter. That's not one of the problems. Is that?
I don't think so either, but I don't really understand why it's rebranding as X. I'm seeing a lot
I can't even get on Truth Social.
I don't want to be on Truth Social, and I don't want to be on Threads.
You don't want to read any of Donald Trump's truths?
I don't want to be on Threads either.
I have no problem with being on Threads, if that's the thing. But although we have more stuff to upload more stuff. But yeah, and here's the thing. Is that I don't think that once you've acted irrationally, and two people who did for 2 years acted irrationally, we know people who went and testified at Board of Ed meetings, this and that, showing their credentials, people who had teams of people with their T-shirts made, custom.
Demanding that people wear masks. There were people in our community posting on Facebook the day that the schools said they could go back to not wearing masks at school, who were like saying, I really ask you to consider before you send your kid to school without a mask that you think about the others in your community and blah, 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 why you should still send your kid in a mask even though it's not required anymore.
Right. We had the person down the street near the school bus stop who had the likeness of the Grim Reaper with a sign saying, hey, I should have gotten the vax.
Right.
So the kids could see it. I mean, people acted. And here's the problem, is in history, generally, you don't know the thoughts and intentions of a lot of the biggest tyrants in history. Joe McCarthy probably could defend himself pretty well. Communists were bad. They killed a lot of people around the world. A lot of these people, Dick Nixon, day by day with the Watergate cover-up, could probably rationalize and explain to you why he did it.
Mm-hmm.
People who have done horrible things could tell you why that they've done it. The problem is that in history, intentions are taken out. Actions are what's in.
Right.
So, like you and I talk about Robespierre and the Jacobins, etc. They all thought they were heroes at first.
Oh, yeah.
They thought that they were leveling the playing field for once and for all. And they were murderous barbarians, really, including eventually just murdering each other. It was like these things, but Robespierre meant well.
Of course, they all did. Everyone does.
Yes, everybody means well. I mean, there are some outliers. Like Hitler didn't really mean well. I mean, he's got a whole book.
He meant well for the German people.
He meant well for a master race, and he had a plan that he thought was the noble and good plan. No doubt about that.
And let the record show, at that time, all the good progressives around the world, including in the United States, including people like Margaret Sanger, but even all the mainstream, smart, educated people thought eugenics was a very important field of study for the future of the human race.
That's absolutely true. And I think actually a lot of the leaps and bounds were made in the United States. Not surprisingly.
Yeah. Eugenics was big and trendy at that time. It's not like Hitler invented it.
Eugenics and lobotomies.
Right.
We knew that was the health experts at the time. The health institutions were telling you this is the right thing to do, the good and noble thing to do.
All the experts, and they didn't apologize for that either, right? Because that's the point, and that's why it's so important to remember that this happened and that none of these people apologized or acknowledged that they did anything wrong, or that when they go back and say well, we were operating with the best information we had at the time, to say well, if you had that level of uncertainty where it could be that the complete opposite of what you told everybody was true, then maybe you shouldn't go around acting like the expert and wearing your lab coat and telling everybody else that they have to do what you say. Because it's important when they next come out and tell you that climate change is happening or whatever their next stupid hobby horse is, race stuff or whatever dumb thing that they act like they're big experts about, and come out and tell you a know-it-all that they know better than you and that they're the experts and that you have to do what they say. It's important to remember the lobotomies and the eugenics and the COVID stuff and all these things that when they're wrong about this, they're not going to apologize either.
Well, right. And also, here's another thing. The stuff that it does to community. You've acted now irrationally. It brings me back to Chad Wentworth, the kid from Home Ec who Keith punched in the leg, who went nuts, cried, screamed, and we never saw it in school ever again. He was disappeared by his family and because he embarrassed himself so bad. It was just. I think that's the reason he left, but it happened immediately after that. But if you're out there, hello. Hope these are going well. Sure, it's fine. A lot of people got punched in the leg back then. But
the 80s was a dark.
So what
time.
I'm saying is, what does it do to a community that there are people around as we're trick or treating, getting candy, etc., who know that they acted horribly to you and know it's out there now. That changes the dynamic and the energy between people
Right.
forever. It's like you've got these weird collaborators who were willing to sell you down the river to the authorities when the occupying forces came, and now the occupying forces have receded, and now it's just you and them again. And they're not making eye contact. And
Right.
in some cases, personally, literally are not making eye contact.
Right. Well, and I think that's why when you have countries like take like post World War II, Germany and Japan, they're very like self-conscious about this stuff. Like in Germany, they like take the Holocaust stuff extremely seriously and very much to a huge degree because they know.
Right.
They know that like they did that stuff.
Yes.
And Japan, same thing, post World War II, like extremely like fully embraced US like dominance after that point and like really like denounced everything. There's not like apologists for that because like that's what you have to do in order to heal your community from stuff like that.
Yes. And I also think that it's rather than come clean. In World War II, girls who fraternized with the enemy had their heads shaved and were humiliated publicly or this and that, whatever. Remember the people around some of the death camps who lived in the towns nearby were forced to like bury the dead and do gruesome things so they could see what was happening. And I think that was probably at the end of the day for them to face their own shame was probably a good thing for everybody. Everybody, provided, a word that was big in the 90s that I don't hear much anymore. It provided closure, which used to be something that was necessary. But there's not closure to this yet.
No.
There's not closure to this, and it's created rifts with people.
Well, because there's a bunch of people that liked it and wanted to come back. And, like, somebody sent me, The Globe did an article about how COVID's coming back this fall. I mean, like, there's people that are hoping that there's another pandemic so that they get to be the mask police again.
Well, right. And you know what those people, what they are? A lot of people just not only want to be informants, but they want to be crated. They want to be crated dogs. Don't give me choices. Put me in my little crate overnight so I don't have choices as to what part of the house I'm going to wander in. It's too confusing. There's too many choices. I don't want to, go over to the dog bowl that's half empty or half full or whatever. I don't want to sense another dog outside and start howling at him or, see a mouse flit by. I don't want to do anything. Keep me in the crate where things are nice and simple. I just have no choice. Don't have to worry about anything in here. Somebody else is taking care of everything out there. I'm just going to stay in here, and I don't have to worry about anything in the world, any kind of human contact, all the heartbreak that comes with it. And that's dangerous. And the problem is that, and this will get us into the next topic, is that you've got a permanent pandemic in climate alarmism.
Yeah, because you can never like prove or disprove it. It just goes
it's
on
hot
forever.
Right now, by the way.
Yeah. Last month it rained. This month it's hot.
Right. It's hot right now. Where you guys are about to hear in a second, we're going to play this. It's historically hot. As in, the hottest it's ever been. Ever. Now, Alice and I must have missed this.
We were just, I mean, were we not like at several events that were outside this weekend?
Yes, we were at events that were outside this weekend. And actually, I wore a suit outside in a fairly, kind of tense moment outside. And it wasn't particularly all that hot.
No, it's fine.
It's been summer here. But that is not what you'd think. So two things are going on here. One, the headline is not that Joe Biden took bribes. The networks have decided that none of that happened. So that's gone. Two, it's that we're in deep trouble. and prepare to die because it's never been this hot in the history of anything.
Wherever you are joining us from this morning, the scorching summer heat wave, unlike anything we've seen before, is affecting your life.
Not wherever.
Not everywhere, apparently.
Maybe she should have started with accepting New England because the scorching summer heat wave is...
I'm sure accepting a lot of places.
But also, like last year was really hot. Remember the grass was brown? This year's been really rainy.
Yeah,
The scorching,
it hasn't actually been that hot.
What made me have to go outside with my push lawnmower in the scorching heat more than I ever had to last year. And it's not that bad.
It's engulfed parts of the country for weeks, torching the southwestern and eastern United States.
No, wait. First of all, it's engulfed.
Torching.
Yes, torching is a verb that means
Setting
to
on
set
fire.
Right.
Right.
I don't think it's been torching anything, as a matter of fact.
With triple-digit temperatures, leaving tens of millions of people under heat alerts this weekend. It is a life-threatening emergency.
Do you know why people weren't under heat alerts in, like, the 17th century?
Because there weren't any?
Yeah, because it wasn't a thing where people were like...
They weren't scorched?
We're under a heat alert now.
You know what they were doing in the 17th century when they were being scorched? They were saying, thank God this isn't cold. Because most of us tend to go away forever when it's cold in this village. I noticed that. Thank God that we're being scorched. Let the scorching continue a little longer, please.
The extreme heat is also searing Europe and Asia, putting...
It's searing. This is like a Bobby Flay play-by-play.
The Cerberus heat wave.
It's amazing. It's amazing. But yes, that's what they're going with there.
The world on track once again for the hottest month ever recorded.
By the way, isn't that give the lie right there? Putting the world on track once again for the hottest month ever recorded.
Yeah, it's always the hottest month.
Yes. Once again.
Because mostly there's
scorched,
lots of really
seared.
hot...
Once again.
Yeah, which producer got out the thesaurus for words for burn?
Yep.
It's a record that is not likely to stand for long, as scientists warn that human activities contributing to an increasingly warming planet could...
Human activities, as scientists warn, could, by the way, she just said, could...
lead to a future where weather like this will become more common, more deadly, and longer lasting.
So here's my feeling. Great. This has been a good summer so far.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Our garden is growing.
Right.
You know, I've been mostly fine.
Nothing's wrong.
Vegetables would scorch, right? You can't put a vegetable in scorching temperatures and have it live, right?
I mean, some vegetables like heat more than others. Tomatoes and stuff tend to like...
Can you sear a tomato and have it be okay?
I mean, on your grill, it's pretty tasty.
It's an urgent global challenge for people, their communities, their countries, and the planet we all share.
It's mostly fine.
So, how much colder does it make it that the Market Basket doesn't have plastic bags in Massachusetts anymore?
I don't think anything. So, I mean, is this...
I'm just wondering, the lack of plastic bags at the Market Basket, how many degrees of temperature does that account for?
Now, she throws it in this cut later to Jay Inslee, governor of wherever.
Washington?
Where he's standing in a field.
But he's like Mr. Climate.
Yeah, and he's angry, too.
Have candidates out there like Donald Trump who mock the idea of climate change, and there are a vast number of Americans.
Isn't that interesting how this apocalyptic event somehow managed to be Donald Trump's a jerk and I can't stand him? You couldn't leave Trump out of... You've done scorching,
what does Trump really have to do
burning...
with climate change?
Right. And Donald Trump's the worst person in the world, okay?
Who ignore it, don't care about it, or don't believe it. How do you convince those people it's time to care?
Well, we can't wait for Donald Trump to figure this out. We don't have time to mess around, to wait for this knucklehead to figure this out.
By the way, is this not an in-kind contribution to Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Once again, so we'll bring you guys... This is an infomercial on why climate means you can't vote for Trump.
We just got to make sure he's not in office. And the way we do this is
You know what? I don't remember it scorching so much when Trump was in office. Or burning or searing.
Yeah. How is Biden stopping climate change?
Yeah,
right
we've
now?
had John Kerry on the job now for 3 years.
You would think
What's all this
the
scorching?
temperature would be dropping by now.
vote against climate deniers. Vote against people who refuse to assist this moral and economic crisis that we have. You can't wait for these folks. You just ought to make sure they're not in office where they can.
I love that there's a running engine behind him as he's talking.
Yeah, is that to prove he's like at one with the land or something?
I don't
There's,
know,
like,
but
a
I think that
tractor out there?
contributes to scorching because it doesn't sound electric to me.
damage. Let them go off and play golf. We'll solve this problem. It's a
Golf is greener than what's running behind him.
solvable problem if we work together. And people are coming
Golf
around.
is actually totally green. The carts are electric.
I think they use a lot of resources to make all those lawns go.
Around to this very, very rapidly because their homes are burning down. They're choking on smoke from the Canadian fires. When Ron DeSantis wants to go swim and he can't because the water's like a sauna, like a hot tub offside.
What is the water not like off of South Florida?
A hot tub?
Correct. The water is perfect and beautiful right now in Florida. You would love to be in that water in Florida. So would I.
His beaches. We just got to make sure those folks are not in office.
Think the beaches are having a tough time attracting people right now in Florida?
No, I would say that Florida's probably doing just fine.
That's right. And the people scorching are thrilled to be there.
We don't have the luxury of allowing these people to destroy the planet.
Okay, thanks very much for joining us this morning, Governor. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Paid for the committee to elect Joe Biden.
Well, and not just that, but like, sure, like say human activity is doing, once again, like how much cooler is it making it if I don't use a plastic bag at the grocery store? How much cooler does it make it if we use paper straws, as Phil points out in the chat? How much cooler does it make it if we go buy a Tesla instead of our car? It doesn't make it cooler at all.
Well, right. What they should do is, if
Maybe planting trees could measurably make it cooler.
maybe it could.
But I don't see them running out to do that.
Well, we're right. I mean, all you have to do
If anything,
is
they're clear cutting to build more wind farms.
Yeah, but where is the, in newspapers you'll have a news article and then a sidebar and then maybe a couple of a TikTok timeline thing and then the commentary pro and against, for and against, etc. kind of thing. Where is the lateral step over to nuclear power? It would make sense in this
They're never going to
package.
do that.
But why?
Because nuclear power is mean and scary, and the left spent a lot of time advocating against it, like in the 70s and
Right.
stuff.
So
they
it's a religious
They made
belief.
a scary TV show about Chernobyl, so now we can't have nuclear
Right.
power.
It's a religious belief. Because if they wanted to really tackle this stuff, they could just right now, they could do it. We could be all nuke. But once again, just like the COVID people who made all the kids wear masks, the left progressives don't want to have to go back on all the stuff they've done since 1970 to defacilitate the American nuclear sector. They don't want to have a reckoning with how terrible they were with all that stuff. So it's just on to the next thing.
Right, and
You have to eat bugs.
and-
Well, what about the nuclear? No, that's over now. We've moved from that. You have to eat bugs now.
Yeah, stop eating meat. Don't have kids. Don't
Right.
get a dog. That's what's important. I mean, like, it doesn't make any sense, and it's unfalsifiable, right? Like, there's no way to prove what you're doing is helping or not helping.
Which is why it makes the perfect grift.
It's not like the economy where you can be like, oh, if we just hand everybody all this COVID money in the American Rescue Plan, it's definitely not going to cause inflation. And then you can literally see the inflation happen. So we know whether or not it caused it. And then like you say, like, okay, well, the Fed is going to have to raise rates to lower the inflation, and the Fed raises rates and it slowly over time starts to lower the inflation. Like there's no, with this climate stuff, there's like no measurable way to see if any of it's working or not working.
Right.
it can't be done. Like you
Right.
can't, which is why they love it, because it just means it goes on forever and they get to tell you what to do all the
Right.
time.
And they get to be indignant with you when a serious hurricane comes.
See?
You're part of the problem. You caused it. You happy? You happy? You did this. It's the same. Talk about the Salem witch trials.
Right.
You know, just completely, conflating the two things that are far apart. You see? You summoned this with your ignorance and your, in driving a Hummer. Or whatever they drive now. Or a Yukon, whatever. You summoned this. Great. And me and my kids have to live with this. Let me get to one more.
Okay.
This is Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan. Yes. Also taking a good long blind eye to the Biden taking a bribe scandal and going right in on climate.
As July slogs on, so do the miserable temperatures and brutal severe weather episodes that are dominating the
First of all,
summer of
Alice and I
2023.
picked up on this because we were listening to this together in the car. I'm having a delightful July.
I know.
It's not slogging on. July slogs. It keeps on being
Yeah, July's been great.
July. It keeps on being very pleasant out every day after every day. It's like living in Del Mar in San Diego.
Maybe
So
it's different.
It's
Where are
slogging
they?
on?
Are they like down in DC or something?
Yeah.
So maybe it's like
Yeah, but it's not a local DC show. It's a national show. Maybe it's DC. Washington DC is literally a swamp. It was built on a swamp.
yeah, but it's hotter. I mean, maybe we're just more open to like having some hot weather because we're in New England, so we had to shovel snow all winter. So we're like in a good mood now that it's sunny out.
Searing. You know what slogs on?
We're
is
being torched right
February
now.
and March slogs on.
Oh, yeah,
March
March
especially
slogs.
slogs on.
March
July
slogs.
slogs on.
The miserable temperatures and brutal severe weather episodes that are dominating the summer of 2023.
The idea that there's not global warming, I think, can't be denied by anybody anymore.
There's no denying it's hot or that the high temperatures are raising concerns about the future of the planet. But what can be done at this point?
This is the other part of the
Phoenix,
package.
wilting in the valley of the sunstroke.
Once again, the imagery put in there by the siren. The siren's
Yeah.
reacting to another victim of the searing summer. That's what it's got to be.
When you know it's just like stock
The
audio of a
EMT is
siren.
just like, I can't take it. That's just why I got to drink on the job. It's slogging along this month, this bloody month. Why? Get a hold of yourselves. And by the way,
There's a new pandemic and it's called the sun.
Phoenix used to be such a moderate temperature kind of place. I remember
Yeah, I know Phoenix for definitely being like not very hot at all.
not a lot of outdoor sports played outside in Phoenix.
Dehydration, dizziness, delirium. No surprise,
Delirium?
given today's forecast. A record 24th straight day with temperatures hitting 110 degrees or more.
I've been sweating all over my body.
People
Well, there you go. He's been sweating all over his body, Alice. Every single sweat gland available is being utilized for this slog. You realize that?
Terrible. The delirium is setting in.
I mean, that is powerful man on the street stuff, though. They find a 110 day temperature day in the desert, which is Phoenix, Arizona, and they've got a man whose body is appropriately reacting to the heat.
will wither in
It's like, well, by the way, sir, just so you know, you can go right in there if you want to. There's a Home Depot.
Yeah, this is America. We have
Yeah.
air conditioning.
Oh, they even sell them in that Home Depot.
weather this hot. And July's poised to become Earth's hottest month in at least the last 6,500 years.
I'm sorry. How do you know that it's the
you
hottest month
imagine
in
the-
6,500 years?
The news producer's writer's room, once a guy put that up there for everybody on the Microsoft shared documents that poised to become the hottest month, 6,500.
How do you know there wasn't a hotter month 5,000 years ago or something?
Yeah, it's like, Bill, where are you getting that?
Like,
6,500 years? They purport to be having been doing the world's temperature since 1880.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what they purport to be doing by literally
Not
going
as,
around
thoroughly as
Right.
they do today, I don't think.
Right, but the thoroughly way they do today with the tropospheric whatever satellite stuff has been going on since 1979. Regardless, if you look up news articles, it keeps being the hottest day.
Oh yeah.
This is
Whereas,
just
do you have the cut where they said this is like the 3,000th record hot day in July?
if it's
Ask
in here.
Palm Springs, California, and our Carter Evans.
No kids on the playground today, and you can understand why.
There we
The
go.
temperature here on the slide is 171 degrees.
Oh my goodness. The temperature on the metal slide, Alice. The metal slide, which notoriously, even when I was a kid, on hot days, you were staying away from that big bastard because that was going to sear you, as a matter of fact.
I know. We all knew not to go on the metal
Right.
slide on hot
The
days.
temperature on the asphalt here is 136. Yes, we know that too. We're not walking with bare feet on the asphalt. We know that these things get hot. He measuring the slide. And that's supposed to mean, oh my God, our children use that. Which, of course, is why they've switched all the good slides out
was a
for sucky slides.
There was a post in our local Facebook group that I showed you where the local animal control officer was taking the temperature of the pavement and telling you that you shouldn't walk your dog out on the pavement in the heat because their paws will burn, and that instead you should do some enrichment activities inside with them.
Oh, yeah, that's what they said. They use enrichment activities. It used to be that the dog catcher, as it was called, before they became animal control officers, was kind of a cop, but usually a little drunker, I think. I mean, I don't really need to hear about enrichment from him, from the guy with the huge pool, cleaning apparatus thing to put around the dog's neck.
Today's forecast will be a continuing meditation on climate change.
It will be what? What will it be?
The forecast is going to be a continuing meditation on climate
Oh,
change.
okay.
It's different than the weather forecasts I remember as a kid. But
Can you just give it to us straight instead of having a continuing meditation? Can you just tell us what the weather's going to be? I'll handle the panicking part myself, okay? I'll handle it. I'll handle the adjectives, too, about how much I'm searing and cooking and frying and scorching, okay?
With more dangerous highs expected today. Phoenix, 113. Las Vegas, 113. Tucson, 109.
Wow. You know what it seems like? It seems like parts of Arizona and Nevada are getting hot.
yeah, there's also a reason why all the snowbirds come back from like Florida and stuff in the summertime.
Right.
They spend it up here. Oh, you know what else used to get really hot too? John in the chat says his first word was hot from the vinyl car seats.
Yes.
And you know what else used to get really hot was those old like metal car seat buckles.
Yeah,
Those
I had
could
to
burn the heck out of you.
Yes, I think when I was a kid in Florida, a little baby in Florida, a little fat kid, I got burned by them. I had to go to the doctor, I think. Sure.
In the U.S., more than 3,500 temperature records have been set this month alone.
Yeah, this month they've
My
set
goodness.
3,500 temperature records in 1 month. I don't even understand like what that means. Is that like different cities?
It's a slog, Alice.
I mean, there's only 31 days in the month, and we're like not even. There's more than a week of it left. So I'm just trying to understand. Like, what do you mean 3,500 temperature records have been set in this July? Like, is that different places?
It's a lot of
on
records.
different days?
There's a lot of
They've set.
Alice,
It's been the number one hottest.
6,500 years.
Okay.
Keeping cool can be a matter of life and death. America's leading weather-related killer, not hurricanes, not tornadoes, excessive heat.
A heat wave that...
Now, does it care to tell us how many? I looked this up. It's 700 annually. So 700 people die a year from heat stroke or dehydration or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I assume
they also try and count people who drown during heat waves as having died from the heat because they go into water to get cool.
So does that mean
so
if it's
more
too
people
hot
like
for
go
you,
to the pool and the beach?
So wait a second.
When
So
there's
let me
a
ask
heat
you something.
wave,
So if it's really hot outside, you decide to walk into Home Depot to get cool because they have AC, and somebody stabs you to death, you died of the heat?
Yeah.
Okay.
It drives dozens of people or more to an emergency department.
Dozens. Or more.
In other words, not a lot?
In other words,
is a mass casualty.
Not many.
He just said it's a mass casualty event. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. But okay, so once again, then mass casualty events don't mean anything anymore.
In the chat, John says they died with heat.
That is great. Oh, that is great. Oh man, I think Alice, it was going to be the slog.
I know, maybe that's the title of the show.
Died with heat. I
think you put "with" in quotes. That's how
do
you
I,
did
or
it
do
in
I
the
in
chat.
italic in quotes?
Yeah, I'm not sure the italics will pass through everywhere that the RSS feed takes it.
They died with heat. It's great.
Officially,
oh, it's a siren again. Another one went down.
They're dropping like flies.
Extreme heat kills roughly 700 people a year. But experts like Dr. Chris Tedeschi, a Columbia University emergency physician,
says it's really worse than that. Even though 700 is not a big number, Chris Tedeschi's about to find a way to scare us anyway.
Believe the actual death toll is much higher.
This is a big stress.
And there's a limit.
But at some point, your body's not made to function in these temperatures. It just doesn't work.
Well, what is that number that he was going to tell us?
Well, and like, yes, people do die from very hot temperatures. There was a very sad story about a family in Texas that went on a hike and, a dad and a kid died from heat stroke and, the dad died while going off to try and get help or whatever. And it's sad and it's terrible, but it's also not new. There are places on the planet, and there will continue to be a lot of places on the planet where, like, on certain days in certain temperatures, it's not safe to go like wander around in the heat of the sun.
Right.
It's also not safe to go walk around at the North Pole without proper equipment and training. There's lots of things. Planet Earth often is trying to kill people. And
yes.
There's lots of ways that it's not safe to do stuff, particularly out in nature. The sun is extremely powerful. And
one of the ways
hot.
that we managed not to die and keep it down to 700 now is by using air conditioning in homes.
Europe could learn a thing or two.
Right. And so when you have air conditioning, then that creates another problem, right? These people don't want people to die.
They don't want people using air conditioning.
Right. They don't want you to use air conditioning. So you need to die. Because that way, if you die, it's fine. Because if you don't use, I don't know.
They also don't want you to charge your electric car.
Right.
Too.
Strained power grids in Southern California, Arizona, and Texas. Some areas could see rolling blackouts. Even the oceans feel heat stress.
Southern California and Texas. You mean the hot states?
Yeah. Places close to the equator.
Oceanologists, temperatures throughout the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean up to 5 degrees warmer than usual. That's endangering coral reefs, critical because they both nourish sea life and provide a natural barrier against storms heading to shore. Later this
Oh, what?
So the next time there's a storm, it's once again because...
There you go. Hope you're happy. You bleached. It was coral reef bleaching. It's called bleaching that kills reefs, or it kills them temporarily. So I actually looked into this, and this whole thing of the Great Barrier Reefs. They've got a big website, Great Barrier Reef Foundation, and I'm looking and thinking, okay,
it grows back, right?
Yes, it just gets better again.
It's like the stuff with the bees too, like all the disappearing bees, which is true. Like there are bees that disappear and all this stuff, but like. It's actually really easy to start bee colonies and inexpensive, and like anyone can do it, and they're like extremely replaceable, and people do, and there's like always more bees. Like the bees, just because the hives like go missing, it doesn't mean that we stop having bees.
And if you go to the Great Barrier Reef Foundation, it says the summer of 1997. 98 was one of the hottest records recorded in the reef in the 20th century. Mild bleaching was observed in late January and intensified in February and March. Most reefs fully recovered, with less than 5% of inshore reefs suffering the high coral mortality. However, the most severely affected reefs in the Palm Island area saw up to 70% of corals die.
And you know
the coral dies and then doesn't die year after year, decade after decade, decade after decade.
Yeah, stuff changes. There used to be glaciers up here too, and now there's not. So we can live here. Like, I don't know. What do people want? Did you see there was a news story that I read recently that says that there was a big study that found that because we're depleting the natural reserves of water, the aquifers under the Earth's crust, so much that we've affected the tilt of the planet.
I hope so. Hopefully, anytime soon it'll just simply capsize. All right. What is the hot sauce, Alice?
The hot sauce is the Chelsea Fire Wicked hot sauce. They, of course, bring us the Chelsea Fire Wicked hotline where you can leave a chat message for us.
Here we go. Ready?
I'm so ready.
Hey, it was just an idea, but the Shattuck Brook is like way up in Naugatuck towards like Hot Brook Dam. Couldn't you just like go there without a fishing license and be like, I own this brook. What's wrong with you? Look at my license. This is my brook. Kind of funny.
Fritz, if I thought I could, I would. And I don't even think I've ever caught a brook trout, but they're considered very smart trout, Alice.
Mm-hmm.
But I would. I miss that. I miss catching good fish and eating them. Something we used to do. I was just telling you this weekend.
I think you should. We're going to be up in Vermont for like a full week in a few weeks from now. And
yeah.
I think you should take your son fishing.
Dr. Cheswick, Aeouy.
Hey, Tom.
Yes.
When Alice is on layaway, are you hoping that some Kris Kringle is going to walk into Walmart and just pay off all the layaway items so that Alice can come home for Christmas?
Did you say that?
Yes.
Then I would be on layaway instead of maternity leave. I didn't even catch that. Thank you, Dr. Cheswick. Good point.
Yes, I hope so.
That'd be great. I wanted to comment on the Biden corruption. You know, it's amazing that if every news outlet just turns their head away, things don't exist.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known a few family members who tend to do that. They put blinders on and they just turn their head to the side and it doesn't exist. And I don't know if all the low info voters are going to get that none of this stuff is being reported on because they're trying to protect someone who is obviously compromised. And also, Richard Nixon's first vice president was Spiro Agnew, and I believe he resigned the office of vice president because he was part of a corruption scandal. So, but then again, you know, the Washington Post and the New York Times would actually report on that.
Yep.
Well, good luck on that layaway, Alice.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Some generous person will be able to pay
Tom
for
can
your way
afford
out.
me again.
Yeah, please. That would be great. Really make the push, Alice. We should offer to name the baby after whoever is the highest bidder. I'd do that. Would you do it?
No.
Why?
That's weird.
Who cares? Getting calls from 800 numbers is weird.
Okay.
Alice, think about it.
I'll think about it.
A baby named by the collective. We can have a poll of the top 5 nominees.
Just play
We're doing it. Guys, let me know what you want it to be. Tell you what. You can tell me in the DL, and I'll write it. Alice is going to be whacked out on Narcan or whatever that is they give her when she's having a baby. So I can call this thing anything I want.
I think that it's long past due for Mr. Tom Shattuck to get his ham radio license because there's lots of other places you can go and have great conversations without having to be online or be on commercial radio. There's a lot you can actually do with that. Later.
I used to know ham radio people a lot, and they seem to be like a tight-knit brotherhood or sisterhood, whatever. I'd be mildly interested in it. It's kind of doomsday-ish now, but I don't have time to, you know.
I had a dream one time that we were like on the run in an RV or something and like doing like some kind of pirate radio thing, like secretly broadcasting.
Part of that could be true, Alice. Okay, ready? KB1 SXV.
That's a Fred's account.
Oh, it is? Okay, let me change it then. First, I'm going to bounce around. Anonymous.
Oh, yeah, there was one thing I forgot. Whee!
This is because Steve... Oh, here we go. BBP.
Burn Barrel Podcast.
Yep. / all caps. Screw your naming convention. / guess who. / 109364. Is that the? It can't be the zip.
I don't know where that is.
Hey, Tom, just want you to know I submitted the recordings of myself, Replica, Shattuck, and Phil, sent them off to TDK Laboratories, and they did an analysis, came back. There are no sounds of any birds on any of those messages. So.
Incorrect. Now there's no birds.
Just saying, McLean's not too far away. I want to just have a little checkup, see what's going on in the old noggin. Because, if you're hearing bird voices now, how long before you start hearing those other voices?
Yeah, that's a good point. No, there were birds. We were in Tim's hometown today. That Friendly's, he lurks around there. Alice?
It's not the same town. It's not the same town at all.
Yes,
People
it is.
asking, by the way, what happened to the mustache.
Oh, yeah. I had an official capacity over the weekend. I'll just say it like this. I was an ordained member of the clergy. You were a wedding officiant. The Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Boston.
No.
Correct. Under
your powers were purely civil.
Under Cardinal Bernard
of
Law,
Massachusetts.
as a matter of fact. Yes. And there you go. So I was doing exorcisms and all sorts of things.
When talking about 1980s mustaches,
yes,
we cannot forget or rule out Isaac, the bartender from the Love Boat. Tremendous mustache.
Oh, man.
And also, I'm sure you remember him, Tom, Gene Shalit from the Today Show. That was a mustache.
Oh, I don't want to ever think about Gene Shalit.
So is your mustache coming back?
I think we're gonna. I don't think I'm gonna shave.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. Isaac, do you know Isaac from the Love Boat?
No.
He had a sixth sense about things, and he'd give you the double guns sometimes. Alice, these right here,
Okay.
Man could mix an incredible Sex on the Beach.
Okay. I'm looking up his picture. Okay.
He's a mustachioed, handsome man.
Yep.
Very good guest service.
Kind of similar shape to the mustache you did too.
Hey, Tom, first of all, it was great.
Okay, so this is...
That's Stephen Gloucester again.
Okay. The message said Tim from Canton was on KMS. This is interesting. I want to hear where this goes.
Hey, Tom, first of all, it was great to hear Tim from Canton on with Kirk last week. It was just a really funny show. But during that, Tim had a great game in which Kirk had mentioned the way in which he wanted you to eventually die, which is something that I obviously didn't find funny. But I was wondering if that mention was Kirk's almost like Christmas card in a way, or his way of saying that he thinks of you in a positive way, because you know how he is. Anytime there's something negative, it's almost like a sign of respect. So I wasn't sure your thoughts on that. Thanks, pal. Bye.
So, I think I'm caught up. I listened to the one with Whitney, which was great.
You didn't listen to the one with Tim and Canton on it?
Tim's on all the time.
No, not the caller.
Oh, it was
in there.
Oh, he was in there?
Yeah, with Montage.
No, I didn't see that. I must have. How the hell did I miss
Where are you?
Well, we've been moving around. Oh, I have to. I'm sorry, Steve. I haven't heard it. I got to mention it. I didn't hear it. This is important. I'll be listening to this tonight. I didn't know Tim was in there.
Mm-hmm.
How the freak did we miss this? Although we were in Vermont, or we were.
I knew about it.
You gotta let me know this stuff.
Okay, I thought you knew. I mean, like I only got into this show because of you, so I figured you knew that
I never missed
happened.
any of these unless it played overnight. Sometimes I'm playing them.
Maybe that's why I knew about it and you didn't. It was probably keeping me up in my sleep.
Oh, so that's
you were
what happened. So I just missed it. Oh my God, it scares me to think about that.
What else have you missed?
I don't think so. I hope nothing else. Oh man, I will listen to that immediately and have a better. Remind me to have a better message for him on that. I will listen to that. I know that the ways that he's wanted me to die in the past, the most painless one would be JFK style. I think.
Mm-hmm. I think he wanted a plane to hit you at one point.
Yeah. And to be stabbed to death in many different cancers. I think.
Yeah, this was before.
Whitney.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one immediately before Whitney?
I think it was the one immediately before,
Yeah.
I want to say.
Okay, because there was a couple days there where it was just simply all out.
Anyway, thank you for listening. If you are on Patreon, obviously stay there. We have more to get to for the Patreon show. I don't know if Tom remembered that, but I did.
Yes.
So we have more to talk about. If you want to join that, that's patreon.com/burnbarrel. That's also where you can join to be on the live stream and the live chat. If you want to listen for free, which is obviously also totally cool, you can do that. burnbarrelpodcast.com has the links to all the places to listen. Listen on YouTube, watch on YouTube and Rumble, etc. I'm ready. Oh, wait, no, I'm not.